Okay, so let's head over to our process edit password page here and carry on with the changing of the password. Okay, so let's create a variable called error, and initially it's going to be an empty string, but as we're doing password checking and stuff like that, validation, just small validations, nothing rigorous, we'll eventually set this error to something if any of those validations fail. Okay, but first let's get the user. Let's say user equal to get user, and then we're going to say ID. Okay, this is the user that we want to change the password for. So we say if new password is not equals to confirm password, then we're going to say error equal to password and confirm password do not match. Let's actually change this to new password. Okay, so next let's say else if not password verify. So basically what we're trying to do is that we want to check whether the old password exists. Okay, so let's say old password, and then let's say user password. So this function here, password verify, will check that the old password is matched against the user that we just gotten from the session. So if they do not match, we're going to say error equals to old password does not exist. Okay, next let's say else if. What do we want to check? We want to check that password verify, and then new password and user password whether they are not the same. So basically we want to check that the new password entered, if it's the same with what's in the old user password, we want to check an error, because when you're changing password, we want to force the user to change it to something that does not exist. So if you change it to your current password, again will trigger an error. So let's say you cannot change your password to be the existing one. Okay, so let's do another last else if. Say if string length of trim password new password, if the new password is empty, that is, and let's just copy this, or that is if the new password's length equal to 0, or the old passwords not the old password, sorry, confirmed password, if that one's length as well is equal to 0, then we want to say error equal to passwords cannot be empty. Okay, so finally, after we've done this small validation here, let's do if string length of error is more than 0. Initially we set the error to empty string, so if none of these errors happen, then its length will still be 0. But if any of these have been set, then definitely an error occurs. So we want to head back, do a header location to /users, and then /edit, and then we just want to say the ID of the user we're editing. We want to get back to that page, so let's do $id, and then we want to pass in the error variable. Okay, so error equal to $error. Okay, so let's just close that with a semicolon, colon actually. So let's do else, that is the validation pass. We want to do post password equal to password hash, and what password we want to hash, the new password of course, and then we want to just say password default. Okay, so we've set the password we've hashed it so that it's the hash version of this plain text that we're being passed in here. So let's do if edit user password. So we're going to create a special function to change the password, passing the ID of the user and then the data. Okay, so header location /users /edit. Let's get back to the current user that we're editing. So we're gonna say ID equal to $ID. Else, if changing the password failed for some reason, maybe there's a database error, we're just going to head back to that same page. So let's just copy this quickly, and then we're gonna have to set in a custom error equal to could not change password. All right, so let's head over to our functions.php file here. Now we're gonna have to create that function. So it's a function edit user password, and it takes two arguments, the ID and the data. Okay, so let's get the PDO function first, and we get that by saying db get connection, and then let's create a SQL there. Says update users set password equal to, and then let's pass in a parameter there. I'm gonna bind to lately, where ID equals to bind, pass another parameter that we have to bind to. So statement equal to PDO prepare, and then we pass in SQL there. Okay, so next let's just try to run that statement by saying statement execute, and then we pass it an array with the parameters that we want to bind to. So let's pass in password, and then let's do this data password, and then the ID will be just the ID that we pass in as an argument. Okay, so if this succeeds, it's going to return as a boolean true. So let's just store that in a variable called edited equal to statement execute. So let's do return edited. Okay, so now everything seems to be set. Let's test that in our browser now. Okay, so right now I am on Edward's page, and the old password is Edward. So let's test out the validation. Let's just enter in the old password, or let's leave everything empty. So I'm going to say change password. Now it says old password does not exist because I let it as empty. So if I put in some gibberish there as well, it's going to tell me the same. So old password does not exist. Okay, but let's put in Edward. So now the old password is valid, but these two are empty, so it should tell me that you cannot set them as empty. So change password, it says passwords cannot be empty. So validation is working so far. So Edward, and then next let me do 1 2 3. Now let me just put in some gibberish here. So it's going to tell me these two passwords do not match. New password and confirmed password do not match. But finally let's do Edward. So I'm going to do Edward 2 and then Edward 2. Okay, so if we do change password, if everything works fine, it should change it to Edward 2. So change password, and it says could not change password for some reason. So basically that failed. Okay, so let's see what happened. So apparently I made a mistake in retrieving password. Should be 2 S's, not 1. So let's try that once more. Edward 2. So it means validation passed, but we could not save to the database. So Edward 2, and then update. As you can see now, everything's working fine, and we're on Edward's page. But as you can see, that error, that warning here is not being shown because Edward and Edward 2 are not the same. So the username is Edward and the password is Edward 2. Okay, so I'm going to log out. Let's log in with Edward and Edward 2. Let's come here. As you can see now, everything works fine. So I'm going to come to users page here, edit Edward's page. I can see the update user password and the form, but when I come to Lisa Green, I will not see that, or when I come to John Green, I will not see that. But one thing, this is still not safe because users can still post things to this page. So what we're going to do is we're going to say block page, and as you can see now, we can come to Edward here and we can post things to this page. Let's just try to update the password. As you can see, it is letting us post to that page without blocking access to it because validation is passing. So that means it's getting past this block stage here. Okay, so that's one way we can secure even the page that we're posting to, because it's not secure if we don't put block page there. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I thank you for watching. I will see you soon in the next video. Cheers, bye bye.